So, Kiran.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank SZABIST Alumni EDC on behalf of all the speakers for today uh, to ex- uh, to give us the opportunity and invite us to express ourselves in relation to the topics for today, and whichever way we could assist you guys in terms of understanding the financial crime risk. I would also like to thank all the viewers and students who could join us today or who will be listening to this webinar session later. There's some technical issue at Anwar Pasha's and he might have to go out and come again. So if you see that kind of issue, that's all fine. He'll come back and join us. Uh, I think the scenario what we have picked is we'll try and give our background and experiences that we have with our organizations. And then after doing that, after giving our background, what we will do is we'll jump on to the topics. And probably for about 30 to 40 minutes, we will be discussing on the different aspects of financial crime risk and how to mitigate those risks. And then at the end, we'll try to get some of the questions from you guys and then try to answer as far as we can. So let's just get on to it and we'll start. So my name is Zuhaib Pirzada, and with me the two more speakers for today, Kamil Jamshed and Anwar Pasha. So I'll introduce myself and I'll request them to introduce themselves with the sort of experiences that they had with financial crime. Uh, my background is that I am a certified anti-money laundering specialist. I've worked with Pakistani banking industry for about 8 years, and then moved to Australia and working in this banking industry for about 6 years now. I started my career in 2005 with American Express Bank, and the span was 3.5 years with MX, and then I joined UBL and Faisal Bank onwards. The span of 8 years with Pakistani banking industry, I actually worked in correspondent banking, not related to financial crime perspective, but it was more on relationship side with the correspondent banks. That includes banks, NBFIs. You talk about insurance companies or asset management companies. Uh, I've completed my master's in 2009 with SZABIST, that was MBA Finance, and then I came to Australia in 2013. Did another master's with University of Western Sydney, and that was Masters in Business and Commerce. Started my career in Australia in 2014, and then uh, with Citibank, and that was the AML analyst role that I started. Was there for about 1.5 years, and then had some of the roles, some short roles with ANZ and MX again. But then in 2016, I joined with Westpac, and I'm actually with Westpac right now. So it's been a good 4 years that I'm with Westpac now. My primary work with Westpac was the investigations part in terms of financial crime operations. Uh, we used to get a lot of suspicious matter reports from the group, and we were analyzing, investigating, and providing the feedback to OSTRAC, which is our financial intelligence unit for the country. Uh, I had the roles of senior risk analyst, support lead, and was managing a team of onshore and offshore analysts. Onshore analysts were in Australia, and offshore analysts were in India. Uh, Recently, in last year, I've changed my role. I've become senior business analyst, working with a lot of product heads in global transaction services, giving them advisory from financial crime perspective, and also to the relationship managers who are actually dealing with a lot of the large corporates. So that's my work now, and I'm enjoying the work now. So what I'll do is I'll pause in here and I'll request now the other speakers to introduce themselves, and then we can kickstart our topic for the today. So I'll request if Kamil, you can provide your background and experiences and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you, Zoeb. My experience with the banking industry is actually quite recent. I have been associated with the industry for around about three years now. And prior to that, I was originally an advocate. I was a lawyer here in Pakistan. I dealt with criminal matters, corporate consultancy, etc., etc. My first banking job was actually in an organization known as HBL. I was with HBL for around about 1.5 year, and I was associated with them in their internal audit department. I was working primarily in fraud investigations and then as a consulting unit for that particular organization. Lately, I have joined Habib Metropolitan. I am currently a financial crime investigations manager. So I'm looking after CFT issues, AML based issues, and CDD KYC, the usual rigmarole that comes with our field. Beyond that, my expertise and my skills lend themselves towards policy making, implementation, investigations, forensic interviewing, etc., etc. And happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to a productive discussion. And let us see what, if any, positive input and value we can give to the people watching at home.
That's cool. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing your background and experience, Kamil. If I could request Anwar Pasha to give your background and experiences, share with us, please. I think it seems like there is a problem. Can you hear Kamil? Is it
I
Kamil?
can't hear him. I heard
No.
robotic voices.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Anwar, you might have to sign in again if that's possible for you. Yeah. We'll just give a few seconds. If he couldn't, then we'll kickstart our topic for today. But we'll see. We'll give him 2 minutes, 2 seconds. Sorry.
I think we should just also make mention of the fact all three of us are like SZABIST grads, that
Yeah.
we are from different batches, but we've all essentially come from SZABIST.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Let me add. Yeah.
So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Loud and clear. Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Anwar Pasha Ansari, and I'm associated with Standard Chartered as Associate Director for the Financial Crime and Compliance. So
Yeah.
I've got around 15 years of banking experience. As we were discussing yesterday, I also have worked for American Express, then
I
It
think
seems
we've
like
lost
he's
him.
frozen again. Yeah.
started off my career as an operation officer, went into operations as operations manager, came to Standard Chartered as a team leader for account opening, went on to become a head of liability operations and managing around 102 people in my team. Lately, 2015, I was actually transferred to financial crime as CDD advisor. And so
Yeah. I think we've lost him
since
again.
last 5 6 years. So basically, to put a background to it, financial crime basically evolves around the fraud, the tax evasion, money laundering, uh, uh, bribery, corruption, and all. So our part is basically our responsibility ranges from the risk management of the financial crime, that the risk management is understood and mitigated, and then controls are fixed to it
Yeah. No, thanks a lot for providing the background and your experiences.
for the
Uh,
bank.
thanks, Pasha. So what we will essentially do is, as you all understood, that we are from financial crime industry. We're trying to mitigate the risks that we have from financial crime, and there is a common goal, which is to mitigate the risks and have a global economy where these risks are not there. So let's just maybe start the. I think the first topic that we've been given is the identifying and dealing with financial and banking crime risk. So before going into how to identify and probably how to mitigate those risks, what I would do is I'll give you a glimpse of what the financial crime basically is. And already Pasha has already mentioned what the financial crime is, and I'll give you more insight about that. Kamil, if I could request, maybe you could go on mute for a bit. I think there's some background voice. Yeah, perfect. That's cool. So I think, in my humble opinion, uh, any crime that is being taking place due to using the products, channels, footprints, or branches from the financial institution perspective, by using these products, channels, and footprints, if the crime has happened, that is called the financial crime. Now, the examples would be, if you talk about money laundering, if you talk about terrorism financing, if you talk about tax evasion, proceeds of crime, identity theft, corruption, you talk about scams that are being done, Ponzi schemes. So all these crimes are actually called financial crime, because either way, you either using any of the products, channels, footprints, branches, and you're utilizing the services from financial institutions to go into the market and do some kind of criminal activity. That is why it's called financial crime. Now, the question that is there, how do you identify these financial crime? Now, we've got a lot of different channels through which we receive that information. Uh, and information could be received from the branch, where the customers are coming and doing their transactions. If the branch staff identify some sort of suspicion, unusual information, unusual activity from the customers, they can raise those, and they can raise those to financial crime units, to us, and then we will review and investigate what's happening. If there is any sort of issue, then from our perspective, from Australian perspective, we report it to Austrac. From Pakistan's perspective, we in there we report to FMU. uh, and also not just from your branch perspective, but your RMs are doing ongoing monitoring, uh, yearly review of their customers, their activity. You've got ongoing due diligence platforms. You've got fintech solutions like transaction monitoring detection scenarios, which are implemented in your financial institutions, that are picking these what do you call financial crime risk. And also from the law enforcement agencies, if you're receiving any information, any subpoenas or sort of search warrants, then that's also contributing towards you to investigate more about the customers, why that has been sent to us. So how do you deal actually, in my view, how do you deal actually with these financial crime risks? Now, you've got a lot of different avenues to deal with these financial crimes. uh, and you've got some avenues created by the countries, some avenues created by all these different financial institutions that are giving these products and channels. An example from Australian perspective for dealing with these financial crime, which is related to money laundering or money mules, is cash transaction threshold. If, let's say, more than $10,000 have been deposited in any of the banks in Australia, we have to report it to Austrac that this is done. We're not primarily saying that this is a suspicious activity, but we're saying that this has been done. So Austrac is actually doing data mining. But if we see there is suspicion as well, in terms of a customer is a student, but he's coming every day and depositing a large money cash, and that is itself a suspicious activity, and we report it to Austrac. We've got, obviously, to mitigate those risks, we've got other things like information being sent to the FIUs, freezing of accounts, exiting those relationships. That's where we deal, and that's how we deal, in my perspective. So I'll probably pause in here, and I would probably go to Kamil and see and understand his views from the perspective that they are doing with their organization, and from the environment of Pakistan's perspective. So, Kamil, over to you.
Thank you, Zoeb. It's not that different essentially from what the banking regime abroad is, because effectively, due to how we have to interact with our correspondent banks, that is, the banks that we interact with the transactions abroad, there is a harmonization that is occurring, if not at a micro level, then definitely at a macro level. You're looking at the Financial Action Task Force taking certain actions with their recommendations for us, and Pakistan then being put on the grey list, and then now hopefully coming out of it in due course. So there is this harmonization within the regimes, and it is apparent that there are certain requirements and expectations that are levied upon financial institutions, particularly in Pakistan. So with that, whereas you have Austrac, again, like you said, we have the FMU, we have the State Bank, and then these two entities along, on themselves are trying to regulate and enhance the market as we see it in this country. So whereas suspicious activity reports over here, we call them STRs, not SARs for some very odd reason, but they're known as suspicious transaction reports. So we have to see what activity is going on from point A to point B. and then trying to find the grounds on which to say that, look, there might be cases of MLTF or whatever the case might be, and then conveying that to the regulator and the proper authorities. Because whereas in most countries banks are then reporting to their financial intelligence unit, banks in Pakistan are also reporting to the respective law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
So if the FIA comes up with an inquiry, or if the NAB, the National Accountability Bureau, comes up with something, the onus is upon the financial institutions to then deal with the information they have in the, let's say, the most correct way possible. Because at the end, there are privacy laws and there are privacy concerns alongside then the requirements placed on us by law. And going with that, it's an interesting role that we then find ourselves in, because not only are we then the holders of such information, we're also the ambit or avenue under which we can gauge either what is essentially going on within the economy, or seeing how customers are developing their profiles. Because if I had to put it succinctly, like very shortly, and I think Pasha Saab will be able to provide us with a greater ambit of experience in that, is that originally back in 2010, the early 2000s, we just had CDD KYC. There was no such thing otherwise. Money laundering was a very novel concept. Pakistan mein, it was
Yeah.
called Hawala Hundi. तो
Yeah.
हवाला हुंडी ने एक थ्रेट लेके आके फिर हमारे पास एएमएल मेथड्स आ गए. एएमएल आया, फिर सीएफटी आ गया कि टेरर फाइनेंसिंग की तरफ भी हमको अब रोकना है. अब लेटली अब टेरर फाइनेंसिंग से भी आगे हम निकल गए, प्रोलिफरेशन फाइनेंसिंग की तरफ आ गए हैं. तो फ्रॉम सीडीडी टू सीपीएफ, it has been a very long and very arduous journey under which
Yeah.
compliance professionals are finding themselves taking on all sorts of challenges. And then not only communicating with the regulators and external third party, but also their internal stakeholders that, look, this is something you have to look into, and albeit to a lot of charging कि नहीं हम
Yeah.
उनको कुछ ऐसे करवा रहे हैं या नहीं करवा रहे. So
For
it's
sure. For
interesting.
sure.
it,
Yeah.
it is
It
it
is
is an
really
interesting place we find ourselves in.
Yeah, 100%. The point that you've said, internal customers. So when I talk to the product managers and product leads and identify that, okay, we can't really develop this kind of product, or if you want to develop, that's fine. But this is the restriction I would want to put into, and this is the control I would want to add into. They're like, do you guys want us to do the business? Do you guys want us to get the revenues or not? But it's always that kind of relationship with the product team from financial crime perspective. But uh, we are doing some business. We are actually doing some business for the country and for the global economy. So that has to be done. So yeah, that's good. So I think Pasha, again, I think there's some issue at your end. I wanted to come to you for your uh, information on this question, but I guess he's gone again. Uh, we'll give 2 to 3 seconds more. Yeah, you're on mute, Kamil. I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was saying this is the point where the screen goes black and then the great technical difficulties. Please stand by broadcast.
Yeah, that's true. Um, So yeah, it's a very good love and hate relationship, I would say, with the product leads and product team. But that's the case. That's what we do, and we're trying to mitigate the risk from MLTF perspective, which is in itself it's really big. The way we have to think about is like I always think about the fact that the work that we are doing, it's actually restricting uh, the predicate offenses, and the predicate offenses are like extortion, uh, child exploitation, like terrorism, robbery, corruption. All these predicate offenses, human trafficking. If you think about these, then think about your work as a financial crime specialist. We are doing something for the society. So that's how I think. That's how whenever I'm going into the discussions with the product leads or relationship manager, I'm thinking that we have to do the right thing at every cost. So that's how I think. But yeah, I think Pasha, you're back. So I'll probably request you to give your thoughts about.
No, I don't think he's back
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, yeah. There's a disturbance. There's a disturbance in your voice, so we can't really hear you properly.
I think if I may interject until Pasha Saab comes back in. Um,
Yeah,
that aspect of us doing work that provides to society at large, I think inherently holds true, and that is not often viewed on a macro level. Because like you said, the predicate offenses designed against MLTF, CPF are some of the most heinous things you can think of. I mean, from human trafficking to smuggling, whatever. And
Mm.
these are incidents where we are trying to track down because of certain activities that we are seeing fluctuating within the financial space at large, whether that's being cooperating with our regular local banks, or with international correspondent relationships, or conducting due diligences on our own customers. So it's a very difficult balancing act that we're finding ourselves in trying to play, because
Yeah,
at the end we are a bank through and through. We are a bank. We need to make money. We need to do business. We're a private
exactly.
for-profit organization. We aren't doing this because our heart is pure and our souls are
Yeah,
true. So
yeah,
that, and then trying to then convince business that, look, there are certain safeguards that just have to be there, no matter how excited you may be for a product or whatever the thing that is being launched. And if I may say, like, Pakistan recently, the State Bank has been doing some wonderful things at large. We've seen the launch of the RAS digital payment platform. We've seen the launch of the Roshan digital accounts as well. And this notion of digitization is finally seeping into the country. But with that jump into digitization, I think you would probably speak from first-hand experience, because you've gone from one market at one point in time, which was purely analog and conventional, to another market that was purely digitized. Because
yeah,
whereas in the West and Western economies, we see that a bank branch is a very outdated concept. But for
yeah,
developing nations like Pakistan, it is still a central hub where a customer still comes to get his work done, and
yeah,
the majority of work is still not happening on PC or on the phone. And
yeah.
because of that, when we start migrating towards digital systems, there's a new host of challenges that has now come before us
And
as either audit professionals, compliance professionals, or legal professionals, to see
yeah,
exactly what the regulator wants, what our customer expectations are, what business that we want to see grow, and then combine all of that with that we're trying to keep society safe aspect, that, look, we
yeah,
don't want our products used and abused by parties that could inherently then harm the state. And
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
that is a very heavy burden that we've placed upon ourselves, albeit for the
No,
right reasons.
right
So
reasons. Yeah,
there,
I
that
completely
exists,
agree.
for sure, that exists.
Yeah, no, I can resonate a lot of the examples that you just mentioned. The kind of technology we have in Australia and the kind of products and channels that we are giving to the customers, the really sophisticated fintech solutions that we are providing to our customers, and a lot of the risks that comes through with those channels and products, they're really difficult from that point of view to understand for those product heads. Why do we want this, why do we do this, and we don't really want these kind of risk controls that you're just mentioning. So it's as I said, it's a love and hate relationship, and it will always be there. uh, so I guess Anwar is joining again, but let me just add him. So Anwar, are you
Yeah,
feeling okay now? Okay.
I don't know,
So
but I've tried to switch on to my mobile network. I've tried to switch my computers, my gadgets, but anyways.
right. Okay, I'll probably request you to give a quick understanding of the first question, identification, dealing with financial and banking crimes, from your perspective, how your organization deals with this. No,
No.
sorry, Anwar. Yeah, it seems like there is an ongoing issue. All right, so what we could do is we'll probably shift on to the second question that we have, and probably once Anwar has, if let's say if he has a good connection, then we can ask him both of these questions at the end. Uh, so the second question that or topic I would say is the role of regulatory body government in a global economy. Now, as we've just talked about the fact about the predicate offenses, I'll probably go to that level again, and I'll say, uh, for our viewers to maybe think from that perspective, uh, the global economy and the countries who are contributing to global economy, whether we are contributing good or whether we are contributing bad, in terms of the predicate offenses that we have: extortion, robbery, corruption, terrorism. human trafficking, think about those aspects, then think, as a country, are we trying to mitigate these risks from our economy? Now, I'll pause there and I'll give you an example that has been shared within the Australian Financial Crimes Summit. The other day, I was actually having the summit in this week, in fact, 2 days ago. So I think one of the speakers have mentioned the fact that you can't really eradicate the crime from the country. What you're actually doing is you're you're getting the criminal out of that crime, and you giving the opportunity to another criminal to see through or to do that crime. So potentially that we don't really want to do. I'll give you an example. I can resonate that because I've read a lot about the drug trafficking and all these sorts of issues. So in 90s there was a drug trafficker, Mexican drug trafficker, and I think a lot of you guys might have known Pablo Escobar. He was actually running drug cartel in 90s in Mexico and USA. So he was captured and killed. Once it was done, the second cartel came out, Cali cartel, and they were doing exactly the same. So then the law enforcement was behind them to obviously catch them and do whatever has to be done with them. So that's exactly the way that the Australian Financial Crime Summit, the speakers have mentioned. Now, what they essentially meant was, we don't really want to give the opportunity to the next criminal to do the crime. What we want to essentially do is we want to create an environment of controls, of restrictions, so that these criminals, these perpetrators, cannot come into our system. Don't even think about Australia coming to Australia and doing leveraging Australian ecosystem to converting black money into white money and do these heinous crimes like child exploitation, terrorism. So we have to build those restrictions. We have to build those controls. So that's exactly what we do, and that's exactly a country or the financial institute or financial intelligence units are doing to obscure, to prevent, detect those kind of criminal abuse to the financial system and to the ecosystem as a whole. So I'll again pause here, and I'll probably go to Kamil for his views on how the organization, how FMU in Pakistan as a whole, and how the country is dealing with these kind of issues at this point in time.
So I'm trying to figure if Anwar is still with us, but I don't think that's happened. No, it's still frozen. But to add on to
Yeah.
that particular thing, again, like I said earlier on, there's a lot of harmonization in the way organizations, not only in Pakistan but across the globe, how the operational side of it works. So banks in this country are still involved in trying to figure out the analysis part of what needs to be done. Identification, detection are being done through external law enforcement sources. I think we've disconnected. 1 second.
I can hear you, Kamil.
All right, perfect. So basically, so whereas there's this three-step model that it's not officially being recognized, but it's essentially what's being done. That is identify, assess, and then report. And in that IAR approach, the identification part is being taken care of by external agencies, primarily the law enforcement agencies, who will then raise inquiries, tell the banks what information they're looking for. And from that gauge of inquiry, banks are then operating and assessing on their own as to what accounts are in
Kamil, I think I've lost you now.
So
Seems like
Can you hear me?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can
Yeah,
hear.
yeah.
Yeah, hear you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So in that approach, we are seeing a lot of innovation happening because from bank to bank, there's a lot of differences in interpretation as to we know what the goal is, but how to go about it is still being left up to the financial institution in question. So whereas, for example, the best way I can say it is that if you go from bank X to bank Y in Pakistan, bank X will be, looking at a subject matter in its own right and coming up with the same conclusion, albeit the mechanism of how they're doing it is different.
Yeah,
Whereas in
yeah.
bank Y, you will see the mechanism again being different, but they will be reaching the same conclusion. And for like, I can only quote anecdotally, and with us, we've had the blessings of our senior management to take on certain risks and avenues that may or may not, be originally envisioned. But because of the gravity of the situation that we find ourselves in, especially with the FATF essentially coming down on the Pakistani market very strictly because of ML issues and the like in the 40 recommendations they originally made. So with that gravity being upon us, we are being given a lot of space in which to then innovate and find solutions under which to energize and enhance business, but at the same time do it safely to ensure that the bank does not suffer reputational or financial penalization, and then to
And
bring those mechanics forward and then show to the regulator that, okay, this is what we've done, this is what we have, and this is what you required, and then to proceed from there and iterate upon that process to see what works, what isn't, and to see what catch all network that we can then create.
Yep.
I mean,
No, that's
and
perfect.
even if you see
Yeah.
from the government perspective, they've started National Risk Assessment Plan, in which State Bank of Pakistan, SECP, all banks, even the law enforcement agencies have come together to make the regime stronger so that banking is done in a more secure way.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I think for the viewers, if you don't know FATF, that's actually Financial Action Task Force, intergovernment body, which is actually the I would say money laundering and terrorism financing watchdog. What they potentially do is they provide recommendations. At the moment, there are 40 recommendations surrounding around the money laundering and confiscation, terrorism financing, how regulatory authorities should intervene, and what they have to do to restrict these kind of risks, and international cooperation. So the question that we have is role of regulatory bodies within global economy. So that's exactly what has been recommended by FATF, and they give recommendations so that a lot of the countries can develop their AML CTF policies on those recommendations and abide by those. So at the moment, there are obviously 34 nations who are part of this recommendation. They are part. They are actually reviewing their recommendation. There are a lot of countries there that they are not, but I would say like Australia is one of those who's the member country for FATF. But Pakistan, on the other hand, is actually not directly a member, but Pakistan is a FATF style body, uh, which is
The
Asia
APG.
Pacific. Yeah,
The
exactly.
APG, Asia
So
Pacific Group.
they are actually doing so. A lot of work is being done from all the countries' perspective, and that's exactly what we want to achieve. The goal is common, which is to curb financial crime, to restrict that activity, and to restrict those movement of funds which could be utilized in terrorism financings and all the other heinous crimes. I would give you an example. Recently, what has been done in Australia in 2019, I would say, child exploitation material. So a lot of the Australians who are somewhat say aged, they're actually sending funds to East Asian countries, and child exploitation is going on. I wouldn't really say that's only Australia. A lot of the other countries are involved as well. Uh, but that's just an heinous crime, which when I was in risk and fraud operation and I was reviewing those SMRs, and country has really got the interest on. So it was really terrible to see a lot of these suspicious matter reports and the people who were really involved. So it's really bad. So think about those perspectives. Think about these crimes. So from a global perspective, Australia at the moment, they are reviewing, they are investigating on daily basis. I've seen yesterday, in fact, in the news that Australia was giving information to Philippines uh, to catch those perpetrators who were doing actually child exploitation, and there were few kids who were actually uh, there, and they picked them, they gave them the safe passage and all that stuff. So it's really difficult from financial crime perspective. We do see a lot of these issues every day and out from our investigation perspective, but it's really hard. But that's part and parcel, and then that's giving back to the community. That's giving back to something back to our countries. So yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
there are a lot of countries doing which are like engaged. The banks and the financial institutions are engaged with the law enforcement agencies. I know that England is doing it. So one of our senior members from England came to Pakistan, and he was telling that they provide the information to the security agencies. Likewise, whatever the SARS that we report in Pakistan are sent to FMU, and FMU
exactly,
is in coordination with the FIA. So
100%.
there is a circle that completes, and
Yeah,
the funds which are not and which are bad funds are always there to be traced.
yeah, yeah.
So
No, agree,
and
agree. I'll
just
give
to
you an
add,
example of that. Yeah, yes,
Zoeb, I was just thinking that just for the sake of audience, there, like Pakistan is part of the Asia Pacific Group, which is a regulatory FATF style body. So there are regional bodies. One of them is Middle East or MENA FATF.
Mina,
For
yeah, Mina,
example, there
yeah,
is one for Caribbean. There is
Caribbean
one
one,
for
yeah,
South
yeah,
Africa.
South
So
African,
there
yeah,
are
yeah.
different
I think
bodies which
nine to
are
ten, yeah,
acting.
9 to 10
Yeah,
bodies, yeah, yeah,
those are acting on behalf of FATF, and they go and report to the FATF whatever it is.
yeah,
And
yeah,
just one more thing to add, that a few 2 3 days ago, I was seeing that Pakistan has been added to the high risk countries list by the UK. That is basically all the grey list countries are into the HRTC list, which is the high third risk country list, and
yeah,
that requires stringent monitoring for Pakistani banks to look at the clients in a different manner, to put enhanced due diligence approach
yeah,
for them.
yeah,
And Pakistan has been part of it from the 31st of March, and a lot of banks will have to change their styles just to be part of the enhanced due diligence that is
yeah.
carried out and know their customers well.
Yeah, yeah. Just for the viewers' understanding, when we say there is a high risk country, from these international organizations, they identify these countries as high risk. Once that is done, then all of the countries who are members or who are members of these FATF style bodies, they'll have to do enhanced due diligence. So that's exactly what Pasha was recommending. I'll give you an example, Pasha. You mentioned that a lot of these law enforcement agencies are talking to the banks, and the FMU is obviously giving information. So what we do here is, in Australia we provide SMRs to suspicious matter reports to Austrac. Then obviously they have partner agencies, not just law enforcement, but Australian Taxation Office, Australian Crime Commission. All of these guys, they will get the information. I recall an instance where we receive an investigation from one of those partner agencies. Obviously, I cannot go into the details because of the privacy reasons, but we receive information on the customer that we need more and more information about this customer. What does he do and all this? So we gave that information, where the customer is, what sort of withdrawals are being done, where the customer has withdrawn money recently in the branch or ATM. And the customer was actually the perpetrator for kidnapping someone. The second, and it was a request came from one of the law enforcement agencies, and the second day we received the feedback that, good on you guys, you guys gave us good information, and we captured that person from so and so place. So these kind of
So really it's a collaborative effort between to reduce
yeah,
the crime, be it financial crime or non-financial. It's a collaborative
exactly,
effort, and we have to do it
100%.
just to cater it.
Yeah, no, perfect. Alrighty, so we've got another question. Now, even before going into that question, we have some time. So, what I'll request you, Pasha, now you're back online. If you have some views on the identification and dealing with financial and banking crime, would you like to advise us how your organization is dealing with these things? How is the organization identifying and dealing with these risks? You're actually on mute.
So just like I said, financial crime is a part of larger things that are happening, which includes the terrorist financing is being done, or so there are different mechanisms to find it out. Uh, be it patterns, be it adverse medias, or something like that. So as a financial crime expert, we have to deal with it every day in day out. So we look at them every day. There are news sources, there are various systems that are in place that gives us insiders for what is happening around. And obviously, there are systems within the banks that have different scenarios built in, and that those gives us triggers. Then these are investigated, and then if need be, reported to the regulator. So
Yep. No, that's cool. Thanks for giving us the perspective from your organization and
so
how.
basically, it's the trail. So there are high risk accounts which State Bank of Pakistan has also categorized as high risk. For instance, NGO accounts are high risk, and those are into the stringent monitoring. There are housewife accounts, and there are different type of typologies that are considered. While and that transaction pattern is the key identifier which leads the trail towards the culprit. So if
Yeah,
the money is being laundered, and they're basically, it's the systems, it's you yourself and your approach, how you think. Like
yeah,
you in the start said, you have to have a criminal mind to become a
yeah.
financial crime expert.
Yeah. We'll come to that as well. It's the next question. We'll elaborate more for our viewers. I would also request all the viewers, if there are any, please share your questions if you have any, uh, and request to actually ask questions, because these webinar sessions are actually to understand, to gauge more and more information. Even if we cannot respond to those questions or all questions at this point in time, we'll request EDC to get our responses and share with you guys. Or uh, I'm available if anyone wants to. Uh, if anyone wants my LinkedIn ID, they can connect on LinkedIn. So all good. I think so. Let's go on to the next question that we have, and that's building a career in fraud examiner and financial crime compliance. So what I'll do is, uh, I will share my views at the end. I'll probably request Anwar Pasha to give his views first, and then to Kamil, and then myself.
So, being a career into financial crime, basically for that, that is a good career actually. So, if you look at the industry, there are three roles that are available. One is the back office, one is the middle office, and the front office. So these are good. Like I said, the world is evolving, and the controls should be tighter. People are looking at the controls more rather than sales. A sales which is misled or missale is very dangerous. So there are functions that keep an eye, which is called the second line of defense, and that keeps the control. So
Yeah,
making a career, yes, it's a good career. It's a middle level. You're not highly paid as the sales. Obviously, they're the revenue earners. But that's a good opportunity to get into the financial crime. I think the students will have to do their. There are various exams, like you've done your. You are a certified anti-money laundering specialist, which is the CAMS exams. That is one good certification that you can do. There are various others, but this one is more recognized than the others, and this is a good career. The control people, the second line of defense, I can say, are very highly paid, because these are the guys who are looking at the controls, who are ensuring compliance. They are ensuring that the bank or any organization is protected from those crimes. So developing a career into financial crime, that is a good opportunity. And even with the FATF coming in, and State Bank being more stringent towards their policies and procedures, they are into it. They want people to actually develop controls so that these type of crimes do not happen. And even if you look at the current regime, the State Bank, they've been imposing penalties, and they are publishing it on their
yeah,
website. So coming on the website is a reputational risk, in my opinion. So you have to save it, and most of these penalties are on the anti-money laundering breaches
Yeah. I think we've lost him again.
I think so.
So,
I think so.
I think this is a very good career. It has a future. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no.
Hello.
We did. All
Yeah.
good. All good.
So,
Yeah,
the career into the controls is really good, and I would say that people should think to join banking. Banking is a good field to be in, and one of the mainstreams within the banking is the control functions, which is the compliance or the financial crime.
perfect. Thanks a lot, Anwar, for your views. Kamil, over to you.
So, I mean, I can only add on to what Anwar Saab has said because there's a lot of value in that as well. For any prospective student, because this is the thing about this is how I felt about when I joined banking as a whole. Let me first talk a bit about banking, and then I'll come to the subhead that is compliance, audit, and whatnot. So, me being a legal professional at the outset kind of gave me an edge because I understood the terminologies that were already ongoing. And there is a lot of jargon, believe me. I mean, if people thought learning a new language was difficult, learning the jargon of financial crime is a new matter entirely. And you will get a headache and you will bang your head against the wall before you figure out, okay, what's going on. But there's a lot of reward as well. For anyone looking to be very satisfied with what they're doing in life, it is a very rewarding field. Because when you find out activities are happening or whatever the case might be, you are not only helping the organization, like we said earlier on, you're helping society at large. And you are
Yeah,
inherently being part of that regime that is trying to bring about a safer space within society. And there is a lot of value in that. But beyond, that particular spec for anyone that entering the field, I mean, banking as a whole, mind I grant a lot of people this that with the 2007 recession, the subprime lending issue, and the numerous issues that have come upon bankers ever since then, the
yeah,
industry does not seem as attractive as it once did. But the fact is, within developing states or developed countries, the financial system will exist. It will
yeah,
continue to exist, and it will always have opportunities available for those who want to, join it. And
yeah,
more so, it will become very attractive for people in our field, particularly. Because I think Pasha Saab said this yesterday as well, is that as long as there is business, there must be a control. And as
yeah,
long as there's a control, you will require professionals who can then either execute that control or review that control or implement it in the first place.
yeah,
So for our line of work, that is financial crime, I feel it divides itself into three basic prospects. Either you are a policy expert who knows how to or who wants to get into policy development, who will know how to create controls or how to go
yeah,
about regularizing the industry. There's a huge demand for such people who can actually at the macro end provide for policy construction and development that will aid the financial sector.
yeah,
Second is the investigators or who want
yeah,
to be detectives in real life.
yeah,
So, if you have a curious mind, if you can think like how the criminal will, and you want to try and end crime at the very, first instance it is possibly committed, financial crime investigations is maybe the field for you
yeah,
because it will ask of you many things. And that skill set involves not just investigation capability, it involves you having critical thinking ability, curiosity to start off with, and the
yeah,
ability to see past what is obvious. Because
yeah,
if I may quote, this in this job involves you looking at a transaction of maybe 5 rupees. I'm being very exaggeratedly hypothetical, but let's say it has 5 rupees have gone from account A to account B.
yeah,
Account A says that I this person should only have a turnover of like 2 rupees a month, and now he's 3 rupees more. And account B was just opened yesterday. I mean, those are red flags going off left, right, and center. And then you need to figure out, oh, what has happened? Why has it happened? What can we do about it? So, in
yeah,
that sense, there is that. So, the third line of work that I say is the audit professional. Provide assurance that the financial crime professionals are doing what they should be doing and
yeah,
doing that in a capacity that is not only enhancing business but also partnering up and understanding what the organizational requires, not just from a regulatory perspective because that's our bread and butter, but also to translate that regulatory perspective into tangible results for the organization. That look,
yeah,
we did this, you have been saved this much of a penalty for your organization.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
there's that. And it's difficult to provide a very pros and cons outlook. It is difficult because, look, as professionals in a review function or control function, when we do our job really well, business is going as normal. Nothing is
yeah,
happening.
Yeah.
But if we
Yeah.
don't do our job well, something goes off. And then,
Yeah.
all eyes are on us that, look,
For
you
sure.
did not pick this up. So
For
it's
sure. For
difficult,
sure.
but when you get it right,
Yeah.
it's very rewarding.
Yeah.
And to be working with dynamic teams in itself is a very good reward.
Yeah. No,
Because
100%.
field is so new, with this field is so new that anyone you meet is going to be either a little bit senior to you or on your level, and
Yeah.
they will
Yeah.
be experimenting, trying new things, innovating, and they will
Yeah.
work your brain to its maximum limit. So it's a
Yeah.
very rewarding and interesting field is where I'll put it at.
Yeah. No, thanks for your views, and those are amazing. For me, I also resonate what you guys have just said. Crime is actually ever evolving. It's not static. Think from that perspective. When it's not static, then it's evolving, and when it's evolving, you always need to be two steps ahead. Now, there's a taboo, I would say, that those criminals are like Pakistani villains in movies where they have just one face. They don't really understand much. They have one face to do bad stuff, and that's it. To tell you guys, these criminals are so sophisticated that they've got data analysts, they've got scientists who are working, who are grooming people. The other day in Australian Financial Crime Summit, we were discussing about the concept of grooming. Now, what this concept is, you're actually getting friends with people, understanding them, having the relationship, and at one point in time, you say something to do for them, which is not correct, which is really illegal. So these guys are such smart that if we want to catch these guys, these criminals, then we will have to be smarter than them, two steps ahead of them, to create those policies, to create those controls and restrictions, so that we can detect and prevent our ecosystem or financial system for that matter. So I would say, if you want to join this industry, as a banking industry as a whole, or financial crime, in that perspective, first you need to have sort of investigative skills. If you have a critical mind, to understand things and to question things, it's not just understanding, because a lot of the times, what you guys must have seen this things as well, that a lot of the times things really see clear, but it's not that clear. There are risks there, there are problems there, which we have to identify. When I talk about products and channels, I have to actually identify what the issues I have seen, which a product manager or a person who doesn't know financial crime cannot see. So a lot of these critical thinking would be an element which you require, and I'm sure, and I'm quite sure that a lot of these students, a lot of the viewers, would have that kind of capability and ability, who are doing masters, bachelors, or any other degrees within Westpac, within, sorry, ZABIST. So it'd be good for them to come into this field. And as Kamil and Anwar just said, that it's really rewarding, uh, not just from the remuneration point of view, but also from the point of view that you're doing something good for your society, for your economy, and giving back to your community. So think from that perspective as well. I understand that remuneration is one part, but let me tell you, this this field, it's not going to go down. As I've just said, that it's ever evolving. So you need to have those kind of skills, you need to have those kind of specialists who can identify these problems, and who can then sort of create those controls, so that our system, whether it's banking, economy, ecosystem, financial systems, are saved due to the restrictions which we have created.
Even it opens your
So
mind up when you're investigating. You think critically. It's a 360 degree that you're thinking of. You're thinking of the crime, you're thinking of the criminal, you're thinking about yourself, and you're thinking to safeguard your institution. So it's the 360 degree that you're thinking on. Investigating one case is like, it takes time, but it opens up your mind. And
Yeah.
if you are, it
yeah.
opens your mind, you can think critically. And I think this is one of the things that I like about this, and I enjoy working in the field. And I would definitely ask the students to join the field, join banking. It's really good. And I
Yeah,
guess, Zoe, we have one question. If you
yeah,
can,
exactly.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
If
Kamil,
I
do
may
you want to
add just
say?
a small,
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to add one small thing before that, is that if you're thinking of entering the field, know that you will be wanted across the globe, because this is a very standardized set of skills that you will
Right.
have, whether you're in Pakistan or Canada or Australia or Europe. If you can demonstrate that you have the right capabilities, there is no bank on the planet that will say no to you. Because as it is, there's a dearth, and I
Yeah,
think both Pasha Saab and Zohaib will agree on this, that there's a very lack of
100%.
quality professionals within the FCC field. So, and that's
Very,
globally.
very, very,
we
very true. And
we
I'll
call
add
them subject matter experts.
subject matter
So
expert.
Yes.
I
SMEs.
think the other day in Australian Financial Crime Summit, I'll give you another example from there. We were talking about the fact that now that we have restrictions from international borders, obviously people can't go and come and go from that perspective. So we have a pool of candidates who are actually working within the industry itself. But when there are other roles coming out of the financial institutions, where to go, where to find the people who have those sort of skills? Now that's something specialized with this skill that if you don't really have those curious mind, if you don't really have that skill, you can't do the business, you can't do the job correctly, right? So it was really like we were laughing on that there'll be a lot of switching within the banks and financial institutions. So it's just for the laugh, but I completely agree with your point. So I think we just probably have 3 to 5 minutes time. There's one question which is, what should a fresh graduate of BS accounting finance be looking for to enter into this field? Should one go for the mentioned certifications first? I'll come on to this. Probably, if some of you can take this question, but I have the response as well. I'll give my comments as well. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think, if I can add to this, is that I think, look, in terms of just joining the field, the certifications at this point in time aren't inherently essential. And I say that with air quotes on them, to be
Yeah,
fair. And what I say right now, I say to most fresh grads anyway, is that before taking the leap into specializing yourself into this niche, try getting into the market first,
yeah,
because this is not the eligibility criteria or stepping stone. If you have
yeah,
a BS accounting and finance degree, that's at this point in time good enough to get a job. And if
yeah,
you can step into a bank into that particular role, see if it works out for you. Take a year for yourself and try to
yeah,
gauge if this is something you really, really want to do. And
yeah,
after that year, if you have made that choice, then by all means, the certified fraud examination paper, the CAMS paper, the CGSS paper, there are a lot of qualifications that are open up to you to then just not give yourself the AML niche, but also niches within the AML market. So
yeah,
that would be my advice on that end. And I feel people
Uh,
may differ, but that would be my advice on that end.
yeah,
no,
definitely.
Kamil, I would agree to this. Actually, knowing the banking industry first, then going into a specialized field and specializing certificates or certifications. It is important to get into the field first. Learn about banking. For instance, I've been with the bank for last 15 years, and for the last 5 years, I've been a financial crime expert. So I've learned the banking through different roles and different responsibilities, and now I'm more equipped to look at the cases and which is different from what others think of, because being in the field for last 15 years, that is different. So I'll agree to Kamil that yes, first get into the field and then go for the specialization.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you guys. With my experience, what I've done is I've given 6 good years to financial crime space in Australia, and then I went for this certification. And when I was doing the certification, to be honest, I can resonate. I can understand the information that has been given, and why do we do things what we do in our part of the world. So it's actually giving me more understanding and more thought to understand the things which we do. So I would say completely agree with these guys that you don't really want to do this. It's not just that you want to do it. If you want to do it, by all means do it, but it's not a stepping stone for you to get a job in financial crime space. You can really get a job on your BS accounting finance. Actually accounting finance, and that's the third level of defense that we call. as Anwar and Kamil has just mentioned today, the three line of defenses which we talk about in financial crime: line one, line two, line three. Line one is the one which deals with product and channel with them directly involved in transaction relationships, and line two is the compliance function, and line third is the audit function. So you really can get in start in the audit function,
So
which is
I
line.
would say, I would I would say the
Yep.
process owner, the control owner, and the audit.
Yeah,
Let's do
yeah,
it that way.
exactly. So you can get that job there. It's just to- getting getting the information about those jobs which are there, and applying for those. So certainly you could do these kind of certifications, but that's not a stepping stone at this point in time. We all would agree on to this. The second question, I think we've got: what determines growth in this field, and any suggestions to fresh grads on what certain skill set should one hone to prosper in their respective careers? Uh, if you talk about this field, obviously we talked about the fact that you need to have this sort of critical mind to think out of the box. You need to see through things which are there, which people might not see, but if you can identify there are anomalies, there are issues there, that's the sort of investigative skills that you would want. Or as the other aspects would be, if you're good in writing reports, if you're good in creating policies and stuff, that's also something which you could do. You are from BS accounting finance, so you've got that skill of accounting, maybe audit or something like that. So that also can contribute towards getting into a good start from that perspective. uh, g- I would say growth comes with the experience, the role that you're doing, the skill set you're applying. That will define the growth into
And
the
the
role
certifications.
itself, and the certifications that you do in terms of
Agreed.
applying
Agreed.
all these knowledge. So that will give you the growth in that. But let me tell you that itself in the industry there is a lot of potential. I can say that easily, that right now if I go to the Seek website for Australia, seek.com.au, that's the website where a lot of the jobs are being posted for Australian market. uh, 65 to 70% will be related to compliance. 65 to 70%, think about that perspective. This is the growth right now. So there's a lot of potential if you think about these things. So yeah, finally, I don't think we really do have any other questions. But by all means, as I've suggested, connect with us on LinkedIn if you would like to hear more about these things. If you want, you can also discuss with ADC, and they can come to us for the questions. So probably I'll request Kamil, Anwar to give final thoughts, maybe 1 minute each, and then we can close off.
So, since this is a career development webinar, I would agree that we are available on the LinkedIn page. We have our careers within the field of banking. We say we are the subject matter experts, and if any students need any counseling, any advice, whatever it is, my LinkedIn page is there. My name is Anwar Pasha Ansari, to be complete. So, in case anyone wants any guidance, so I'm available, especially students of SZABIST. And I would, in the end, like to thank Hifza and Nadia for arranging this, and obviously to SZABIST for providing an excellent opportunity and a platform to discuss.
Thanks, Anwar. Kamil, over to you.
Thank you. I think I just sum up with everything is that, like, again, LinkedIn is always open. Anyone wants to approach. I think we're all very approachable people. We don't look that scary. In office, we might be, but that's because we have to, not because it's a choice we make. But beyond that, if you need advice, if you need skill counseling, our doors are always open. And beyond that, search into the industry. Like Zuhaib put it quite adequately. I mean, 70 to 80% compliance jobs are being available to is not a small thing. This is unheard of historically speaking. So look into it, see what makes sense. And if you find yourself confused, know that there are people out there who are willing to guide you in any capacity possible. Because I think, like I said, there's a dearth of quality professionals. We would love to work with even better people and see, them come up and rise in the ranks as well. So there's that, and thank you to the people who made this webinar possible. Zoeb Saab, I think we owe you a very big debt. You moderated this session quite brilliantly, and hope to be connecting with you very, very soon, hopefully again, over the same subject matter, if nothing else. And with that being said,
Thanks a
I
lot.
think I'll say Allah Hafiz and good luck, and may you find whatever you are looking for.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Kamil, for your notes. I think I would exactly resonate with what these guys have said. Thanks a lot for giving us the opportunity to express ourselves and give the information what we could share. Uh, for the students, viewers of SZABIST, I would say you guys are dear to us because we've also graduated from SZABIST. So we would want to work with SZABIST to assist you guys in any way which we can. So connect with us and discuss with us the opportunities. If you want any sort of advice, we're able to give you those advice. And thanks everyone. I think from Zab's perspective,
And in
really
the
happy
end, sorry for
and
the
nice.
connection that I had in the at the start.
No, no, thanks a lot. Uh, I hope that we can have these kind of sessions in future as well. We'll probably connect with EDC and Zebus guys. So it's a job well done. Thank you, everyone. So we'll now probably end the broadcast. And if you have any questions, please connect with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Thanks, yeah. Bye.